Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Contour Community Meeting. Today is February 2nd, 2021. Yeah, we got some news here. Nick, you want to take it away?
Yeah, sure. Well, first up, good news. Congratulations, Daneyon, on becoming a Contour maintainer.
Applause!
Thanks everyone for the invite, and it's been a lot of fun, and looking forward to just keep chipping away, working together.
Yeah, absolutely. In other maintainer news, James Peach has moved to maintainer Emeritus, and Sunjay, who's also on the call, has a PR open to become a maintainer as well. I think the only person we're missing for unanimity is Steve Sloker. So, Steve.
It's in there. It's approved.
It's in there?
+1.
Okay,
yeah.
So I will hit merge momentarily. And so congratulations to Sunjay on becoming a maintainer as well.
Awesome. Thank you.
Congratulations.
Awesome. Great news all around.
So we're going to be cutting Contour 112 today. There are a few things we've got to talk about. That's what there's a bunch of other stuff there that we've got to talk about. And there's a few features in there. It's a slightly light release this time because it's been not that long since it's been quiet over the Christmas period. But so I think we probably need to get onto the ciphersuite changes. So I'm going to need you to click open those PRs for me and issues and stuff. Thanks, Jonas. So we've been chipping away at increasing the security of the default cipher suite. So this is when you create a secure listener, the default cipher suite is the list of TLS ciphers that Envoy will say that it supports. Ryan has been great at logging us some issues in the past to remind us that there are some ciphers marked as less secure, we've been working on sort of removing some of those. We had 2 PRs that removed some specific ones, and we removed a few as well as part of removing TLS 1.1 recently. However, doing some of these has created a problem for at least one production customer. So if you could find issue 3299, thanks, Jonas. It's linked there. Yep, thanks. Yeah, basically, moderation has asked us to not do any more, to pull out some of these CBC cipher retirements because they don't play nicely with some older Microsoft stuff, particularly IE 11 and Windows Server 2012, both of which, hey, they're definitely way past their use by date. They are still technically, some of them are still technically in support, but or not 100% end of life. I think they're not supported, but they're not end of life yet either or something. Anyway, a bit complicated. The key thing is we broke them. They had thousands of users that were broken by us doing this change. So that kind of sucks for them. So I think pretty reasonably, moderation has asked that we put those ones back for 112 or until we have the ability to customize the default cipher suite. So my current plan that I wanted to talk about is that we revert those PRs, that we cut 112 with those things back, and then that we work on finishing out 2880, which is basically make the default cipher suite configurable. So Sunjay has already, that's the issue there. Sunjay has already opened a PR to do the initial implementation of this, which is giving you global configurability. And then the rest of the implementation is to make it so that, if we want to make it so that you can mess with the cipher suite on the object that's requesting the thing. I think we need to talk a little bit about how that might work, but I think the being able to change the default cipher suite for Contour and thus Envoy seems like it would be, basically that means that we can change the default cipher suite as much as we like, and as long as we document which ciphers we do and don't support, then people can put them back if they really need them. Okay, so that's the sort of my feelings about the plan. Can I get some comments from anyone else? How do you all feel about that plan?
I think it's good. I think, yeah, like this issue is now solved with the configurability, but if we had something similar in the future, maybe it's good to just call it out and then wait until the next release to actually drop it, right? I don't know if we can use I was looking at the discussions functionality on GitHub. We can raise it there, or we can create an issue for it. Just see if how people react to it, right? And we can actually call it out in the release notes for.
Yeah, I think the thing that we missed for 1.11 was that we did not call this change out in the release notes, and that was the thing that messed this particular customer over. They do check the release notes, but we didn't call it out in the release notes. That was, we missed that. We made a mistake. When we cut the last release, we did not call this out in the release notes.
Has that happened in the past where we missed something in the release notes?
I think this is the first time. This is the first time, that we've had that happen. So, I mean, it just means we need to be diligent about release notes. The thing that we all do, since all the maintainers are here, is if you do have a PR that is a breaking change or people need to know about, you can tag your PR with a release note. There's two labels, release note and release note action required. Release note is a FYI one. Action required is a, hey, this is going to break you unless you do something. And in the past, our general sort of deprecation change policy is that we should, we announce that we're deprecating something, put a warning in when we do that. Then we flip the default to have the, to say, so for example, if we're disabling something, we will give you a warning when you're using it that we are going to be disabling it. Then we will flip the default of that thing to be disabled, but let you put it back to enabled if you need to, and then after that we'll remove it. So generally it's like a 4-step process. I think for the default cipher suites, we were a little full on there. We probably, we should have finished before we started messing with the cipher suite. We should have done this, absolutely. So I think the key for us is to just make sure that when we're making a change that could break someone, that we have a way for people to, an emergency way for people to back out that change for at least a version or two. So that, and with a thing saying, hey, if you use this, please tell us so that we can not mess with you in the future. I think we've done that recently. Sunjay, I seem to remember you doing that one recently with a change that you did. I can't remember which one it was, but there was definitely one where we added a new thing to the config file to let you to give you a break glass in case of emergency switch.
Yeah, the chunked length.
The chunked length, that's the one.
Content length, transport encoding.
Yeah, that was a case where Envoy was doing something that's actually not RFC compliant, but we all know that a lot of times people will come to rely on anything you do, even if it is not RFC compliant. And so, the way that we wanted to do that was to give you an option to put back the non-RFC compliant behavior if that's what you wanted. Steve, Daneyon, please talk more.
Yeah, the plan definitely makes sense to me. I just wanted to confirm. So moderation asked for one specific PR to be reverted, but then Taro pointed out that there's a second PR with RSA ciphers that are basically the same. And so we have a PR up to revert those. So does it make sense to revert basically the 4 of them? So 2 PRs, 4 total cipher suites?
I think so. That's my feeling. I think it makes sense to just revert them both, and then we'll replay those PRs afterwards. That makes, I think, it makes more sense to do that.
Okay, that makes sense to me as well. Just wanted to confirm.
Yep. Well, can we have a lazy consensus moment here? Anyone have any objections to that plan? Nope.
I don't have any strong objections. My thought was just to make it configurable, and it seems like some users want it off, some users want it on. So if we undo it, we're going backwards for other folks. You know what I mean? So my thought was making it configurable and then let folks decide. They can turn it on or off however they want to do it. But we can do it for now. It's release time. We can ship it. It's fine.
Yeah, so I mean, that's basically my plan. The thing that I wanted to do was just we know for sure that there is at least an issue with one of them. It probably makes sense to just pull them both out and be like, hey, we don't want to cause any further issues for people. There is a small security implication is that these are still less secure. But I think in this case, it's better to do that, put the configurability in, and then put them back. The time frame for this is before 1.3, so one release. So I don't think it's that big a deal. That's my feeling. I appreciate you raising that though, Steve. That sound okay to use those, Steve? S?
Yeah, that's fine. Like I said, that's fine. Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, cool. Okay, so yeah, I think that's what we'll do with that. Thanks.
Hey, really quick too, before we get off this topic, I put a link into the Mozilla security side TLS configuration, and I bring this up just because in OpenShift, we have kind of followed this for configuration, where we basically, from like a cipher standpoint, not just for ingress, but across a platform, the way that we handle configuration is it kind of follows this direction of Mozilla, where we could go ahead and say, a lot of people don't know the details of ciphers and whatnot. And so through a configuration API, we say, hey, just set it to the modern cipher suite, and this is what you get, or the intermediate cipher suite, or you can specify custom, and then you can start, specifically calling out different ciphers. So I just wanted to provide this as kind of a reference model on this topic.
Yeah, that's really great. Thanks for that.
Yeah, this is really good.
Yeah, I think we definitely should include that in maybe Sunjay, when you're thinking about that, maybe we have a shortcut that's syntactic sugar for a particular cipher suite, and we say our default one is whatever, and then we have shortcuts for if you want those specific ones, the Mozilla profiles. Maybe something to think about anyway. I don't know if that's too hard.
And Sunjay, you could just ping me directly. I could give you some other links to kind of the API and the implementation and stuff that will be a good reference for you if you decide to look into that further.
Cool. Yeah, I'll take a look at the page.
Awesome. Thanks for that, Daneyon. Okay, we got one other. If that's everything, Daneyon, then we got another thing that we need to talk about the release.
Yep.
Yeah. So sorry, let me just. That's it there. Okay, can we go back to the thing? Yep. Cool. Sorry, I'm on the wrong page. Yep. Good. So yeah, Steve K. Let's talk about this upgrade.
Upgrades, yeah. So basically, I mean, we have two PRs, one of which kind of requires Contour to be upgraded first to avoid downtime, and the other which requires Envoy to be upgraded first. And so we obviously can't do both first, which means they have to go at the same time, which means users are probably going to have some downtime if we keep both of these PRs in. And so the first PR that's listed there, 3250, is required in order to support Envoy 1.17. So I don't think we have a choice about that one in there. The second one, which I wrote, is not required to support 1.17. So it replaces Contour's use of some deprecated fields with the kind of the new fields, but the old fields are still around. And so we could basically back this PR out, continue to use the deprecated fields for at least one more release. And that means that we're not in this situation where we have to upgrade both components simultaneously.
Why do you have to do them both simultaneously, Steve?
I mean, you don't, but if you upgrade one first, then I guess depending on which one you upgrade first, either you won't get any more config updates or you will stop serving traffic, I believe.
So basically it's big. The 3250 means that if you're using one, if you don't do 3250, you can't upgrade, you can't use Contour one. We wouldn't be able to use Contour 112 with Envoy 117. If we do 3260, then Contour 112 doesn't work with Envoy 116 too. So what it means is that if you upgrade, if we do both of them and you upgrade Contour first, then Envoy won't work with it.
It does though. I tested that today. I think Steve, your PR, your second one, only changed the bootstrap config. So when you do an upgrade, you have you upgrade Contour and if your old instance is still running. So they'll connect to 117, no problem, because Sunjay's PR is in there. And then the second time, when you roll your envoys, they'll get the new image, which gives it the new bootstrap config, and they'll be fine. So I think we're fine as long as you upgrade Contour first. And that's the requirement to get to 117. But maybe I did it twice and it worked fine for me doing it that way. But yeah, I don't know.
Okay, so it's
I think yours is only a bootstrap config change, Steve. Correct me if I'm wrong.
That shouldn't be true. I mean, it's changing how HTTP2 is enabled for any cluster. So whether it's the static Contour cluster in the bootstrap config or a cluster that's used as part of a proxy.
Right.
Okay,
So
it worked for me, but yeah, that's fine.
So what it is that then it 100% wouldn't work if you did them both at the same time because of the bootstrap, because the gRPC wouldn't work properly. But what it is that, so if you had, it sounds like if you had HTTP2 clusters, then they might have a problem. Then they would have a problem during that time. Do you think that's right, Steve? Because it's about HTTP2 options.
Right. So if you upgraded Contour first, then it would start, if you had an HTTP2 cluster as part of your proxy definition, Contour would try and serve this new form of config saying, hey, this cluster should be HTTP2. And Envoy 1.16 would basically barf at that config.
And then the envoys won't update until you kick them. Because
Right.
of the NAC problem.
Right.
Okay. So Steve, I understand that what you said, your one worked. That's completely fair. Did you have a HTTP2 listener?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe
okay.
not. I don't know.
Okay. So I think my feeling is that we should back out 3260 for now. It's not required for either of them. Backing it out, just means that we'll have we'll have some warnings while we're running for this version. Basically, once we've cut 112, then we immediately put 3260 back, and then we talk more about how we can avoid this sort of thing in the future. That's like we pull 3260 out for the time that it takes us to cut 112 and to cut the release branch for 112, and then we put it back again straight away. Does that make sense? Are there strong objections to that one?
I think that makes sense to me. Assume like the last two bullets that I put in here are like, do we actually care about this? And that I think we do. I think we care about like minimizing or eliminating downtime for users who are upgrading, but I wanted to make sure that we weren't kind of making an issue out of something that's not, that we're not really shooting for.
I think that we should shoot for, personally, I think that we should shoot for having no downtime upgrades. We can't be confident, we can't be 100% sure that we have no downtime upgrades at the moment because, as you're saying, the last point, we don't have any testing of this. So, I think we absolutely should shoot for no downtime upgrades. We can be pretty confident that there might be downtime if we leave 3260 in. So that's why I think we should pull it out. There's definitely a class of users who would almost certainly be impacted. And so we should pull it out. And then what we need to do is to make sure that we're going to have to invest some time in the testing to do like actual upgrades. Basically, I think what it'll need to be is something along the lines of install a version of Contour, run the integration tests, upgrade that version of Contour, run the integration tests, something like that. But there's a lot of stuff that we'll have to do there to make that work. Sorry, Sanjay.
Oh yeah, I think on top of that, like only upgrade Envoy and run the integration test. Only upgrade Contour.
Yes.
All that matrix of stuff.
Yep. Agreed. Yep.
And this has been a goal, Red Hat, with our existing HA proxy ingress controller, and we're pretty much there. Aside from an upstream issue that I believe is now solved, and so I think we're going to hit this mark with our HA proxy ingress controller, because there was some issues with the external traffic policy local service type, which I know is used by Envoy as well. that had to get fixed upstream. I'll have to go back and look at my notes to pick apart the details and so forth. But I'll tell you this, from the contour operator standpoint, this is definitely something that I have on the list as probably one of the top priorities after service APIs is done.
Yeah, cool. So, I mean, I think it's going to benefit both the main controller and the operator to have upgrade testing anyway. So we absolutely have to do it at some point anyway. So it just means probably we need to just make sure we schedule some time for that, Alex.
So just one more quick question on this topic. Do we usually recommend upgrading the contour deployment first and then the Envoy daemon set?
I don't think we've been specific. I don't think we've been specific about it in the past. I think that is. It's a big hole in our upgrade instructions.
I've never seen it in the upgrade.
Yeah. So what we should be specific about it from this release, just change the upgrade instructions so that we say you should, if you're not doing the ridiculously simple way where you just nuke everything and put it back, then the order should be contour first, then Envoy, and then we change that if we need to.
It hasn't really been a problem since the early days of contour.
Yeah.
So where Envoy has just worked regardless of versions. So.
Yeah.
And then the operator should codify all that too. So, people that don't use the operator, you could follow the instructions of, hey, upgrade this first, then that. But, those that use the operator should be completely transparent to it.
Yep. Agreed. That's another reason for people to use the operator, since we've had some people asking about that in the channel.
Yeah, it's been nice to see. And so I think before we know it, we'll have enough features there in the operator that really gets people to jump on board.
To mitigate risk completely, could we just pull out the Envoy 117 bump? Or, I mean, we're not using any specific features from Envoy 117, are we?
No, but we our support statement is that we use the latest version of Envoy, and we always move to the latest version of Envoy pretty much as soon as it's available. Okay. The reason for that is that in the past, there have been funkiness about Envoy versions. They've got a lot better at not doing that anymore. But I mean, this stuff that we're talking about is a great example of that, about how sometimes, they move fast enough that it can mess with you. And so it's better to bump the Envoy earlier and just deal with the result.
Makes sense.
Okay, so it sounds like we're agreed on pull out 3260 for the 112 release, then put it back straight afterwards. I'm going to give you 5 seconds for anyone to disagree, starting now. Okay, sounds like that's decided. I'll sort that out in a minute. I'll put some notes in there about what we decided and what we've answered there. For posterity, we don't have long. I'll quickly. So we've been doing service APIs designs. Daneyon, over to you to talk about the operator.
Yeah, the operator design has merged. So thanks everyone for all of the input. Let's see, what else do we have here? Let's see, refactor, did a big refactor of the operator so that we could easily drop in controllers for gateway class, gateway, and anything else we decide in the future. So that merged. That third bullet there, the gateway class ref PR, I would appreciate some eyes, especially you, Nick. So just a quick background there is right now, the operator is watching for that contour custom resource, and it's going to go ahead and instantiate a contour environment, right? And the thing is, for us to utilize that contour custom resource for service APIs, we actually, when we want to use service APIs, we want that contour custom resource not to instantiate a contour environment. And so this PR basically is an approach that I took that kind of creates a two-way relationship between contour and the gateway class ref. So Nick and others, if you guys maybe don't mind mulling it over, I don't know if that's maybe too much and we should just have a simple Boolean or something like that in the contour custom resource. but I would appreciate if I could get some eyes there and think through if this is the right approach or not. So that's the API, as well as the implementation of that API, but it's pretty small. So if this isn't the right direction, I'm fine, going a different direction if we want a more simple approach. That last bullet, a whip branch. So, I'm actually pretty close to adding a PR for gateway class support. And so, yeah, it's chugging along nicely with the operator.
Awesome. I think for the gateway class ref, broad strokes, to me, it looks pretty good. I'll have a look at the PR and comment on it, but yeah, I think there doesn't seem to me to be any point to have a Boolean when you've got to configure the thing that I've got to listen to anyway. The presence of that configuration is effectively a Boolean. So I think that having an extra Boolean as well is kind of pointless. That's similar to what I feel we should do for the what I've put in the design for Contra itself. Currently, we have a command line flag that's like experimental service APIs as a Boolean. I propose we deprecate that and replace it with, if you specify a gateway to the contour, then you are effectively turning that Boolean on. If you don't specify a gateway, if it's unset, then you do not want service API support.
Okay, then that sounds very similar to this gateway class reference. Then, yeah, cool.
Yeah, so yeah, that's why I'm fine with it. Please, everyone else, have a think about it. This is not, I don't get to make these decisions by fiat. I shouldn't. So yeah, if you've got if you've got a problem with it, please, say it. I'm fine with that. So I think we're almost out of time. So is there anything else that you wanted to mention for the operator, Daneyon?
No, I mean, you see there, we've got a couple features in the V112 release. I don't need to repeat what those features are. And whoever, I guess, is responsible for cutting the release, I guess I just would have a question, what is needed of me? Do you need me to help with, as I did before, writing up a simple GitHub gist on an operator update that can be plugged into the blog post? Do you need me to do any of the logistics of cutting the release on the operator side? So that's...
Yeah, I think I can just go through the mechanics of actually cutting it, and maybe I'll just grab your 2 bullet points here for the change log that'll go into the GitHub release for the operator, if that works.
Yeah.
Okay,
that's fine.
Cool. Yeah, I think for the future, that this is probably how we should do it. Daneyon, in general, we actually draft the stuff inside the GitHub release inside a draft release, which you should now as a maintainer be able to see. So in the future we can probably just coordinate around that. The editing experience there is not great for concurrent editing, so maybe a Google Doc or a Hackaday or something like that is a better way to do it. I'm fine to we can figure that out as we go though. And then if you want to, you have the permissions to do all of the stuff now. If you want to cut a release, a release of both of them at the same time, one of us can pair with you or something like that, so that you've done that and you understand the process a bit better as well. If you want to do one in the future.
Yeah, I would. So maybe next release or the release after that. I'd love to, and as a first step at it, would definitely appreciate someone being over my shoulder to make sure that I'm doing everything correctly.
Yeah, I think Steve K is doing the release this time because he's just updated the release instructions. So certainly, he'll probably be the best one to pair with you for the next release. Okay. But yeah, I'm happy for you to be down for the next release. That's awesome.
All right, yeah.
Great. Okay. I will just finish writing up the some notes in the minutes in the agenda about the stuff we talked about here. But I think we're out of time, and I think we're out of business as well. So thanks everybody for your time. Jonas, is there any other things we need to say before we close it out?
No, just good luck on cutting the release, and we will have a blog post with this as well going out. So most likely we'll promote that tomorrow morning.
Okay, awesome.
Awesome. Thank you all.
Thanks very
much. Guys.
Cheers.
Have a good week. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.